This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of Jock and Jock is brought to you by Score, a new mobile app coming soon. Score is an interactive game that lets users win deals at bars and restaurants based on what's going on in live sporting events. Find new places to watch games and save money on your bill at the same time by taking advantage of Score's unique interactive specials that give you an additional stake in the action. A Score special can be anything a location wants it to be, from 10% off an item if a team scores a touchdown to a free round of drinks if a quarterback throws for 400 yards. Any stat can be turned into a game. Pick the deals you want to win, watch the games you want to watch, and score deals in real time. The app will update when your team or player records a relevant stat. When the conditions of your deal are met, the coupons are sent to your device to show your server or bartender. It's that easy. Score is coming to the App Store and Google Play soon. For more information, check them out on the web at score-app.io and follow them on Twitter and Instagram at ScoreDeals. Score, watch games, score deals.
Is there a sports podcast in Detroit that people are talking about?
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Jock and Jock. I appreciate everybody that has been tuning in, critiquing us. We greatly appreciate everybody's support across the various platforms. What's up, cuz? Adam Strozinski joining me today.
The sit-down Strozinski, is that what it is? Or sit there Strozinski. I don't even know what I say half the time. But yeah, no, man, we appreciate everybody who critiques us. That's cool. I enjoy it. Gives me something to work on, you know what I'm saying?
Couple things to start the podcast. I know that we're going to talk about the Lions, Michigan State. Among a plethora of other topics, we'll talk about the Pistons and Red Wings as well later on in the podcast. But I definitely want to start with a couple things, too, that's kind of funny in relation to me. I'm the kind of guy that's really...
We're not talking about your penis now,
No.
That's funny to me, too.
I'm the kind of guy that gets way too excited sometimes when you're trying to get something that you really want, okay? So obviously everybody knows I'm trying my hardest to get a single credential to go cover a single Pistons game. I'm not even asking to go, on the road with the Pistons. I'm not asking for special access. I'm just trying to go to a single game with the credential to interview players, to see what goes on, and to maybe find a story or some relevant thing that can be added to our platform, okay? So obviously I've been in contact with several members of the Pistons media staff, and finally I went right to the top. Kevin Gregg is the head of the Detroit Pistons public relations and media, in terms of letting the media in and figuring it out, okay? So I've been emailing him, saying, hey, this is my network. I'm not trying to partner with anybody else. I just want a single thing for me. So we've been going back and forth, bantering, and so finally on Tuesday I said, okay, it's a perfect scenario for a Wednesday game versus the Suns. I mean, they're 8-14. They're just kind of a nondescript kind of team, young. The Pistons are coming off a huge win Monday versus Boston. Perfect. I mean, I'm not asking for the Cavs, the Warriors, the Spurs, nothing. And I've already been told I'm the lowest on the totem pole. Okay,
He keeps it 100 with you.
Yeah. I'm the lowest on the totem pole, and I'm working my way up. So he calls me after I've asked, okay, can I come to see the Suns game? He calls me and says, yes. Okay, we've given you a press comp. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. But I get the call. I missed his first call. I call him back, and he's like, yes, we'd love to have you. We got a couple extra press comps. We'd love to have you come in. And I'm like, yes, okay, very good. So now the first thing I think of is, I don't even know what that means. Okay, so I go, okay, so do media show up at 4:30? When does, Stan address the media before the game? He's like, no. I'm not ready yet to have a podcast come do the media thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. And so I went from really excited because you want something, you want to go do something that you think you have. It's not like I just asked the Pistons. I've been doing college basketball now for 2 years, trying to figure it out, asking a bunch of questions, asking those in the know how to do this. And so I got so excited that I just immediately thought, okay, good. Here's the first opportunity. They'll give me a chance. It's versus the Suns. If I make a huge mistake, it's versus a nobody team. Nobody cares. And I could even tell them, look, I'll just show up there and not say a word. I'll just stick a microphone or my iPhone in there in the mix like everybody else. I can make my way through and act like I know what I'm doing. Okay? He tells me, no. Basically, I'm going to watch the Pistons versus Suns on the Pistons dime for free. They're letting me go as a complimentary ticket to go be in the arena step one.
Do you get to sit with the press?
I don't know yet. I didn't ask. I was so excited to ask about the other stuff that I know that I got a spot in the media parking lot. But I don't know. I didn't ask any details because I'm just like, you know what?
Are you going to go like attack Wojo on your way in?
I don't know what I'm doing because I don't even know what a press comp is. So I thought that meant like, okay, fine, you know, you don't got. I thought it meant like single game, like okay, you get to go in for a game because most
that's
of the people
what I would initially.
Most
think,
people
but...
go and they get the season pass and they get to look cool and handle their business and cover the team. Well, I can't because I can't go to practice because we record during the day. So it's like a radio guy going out there, you know, once in a while when you have an opportunity. And he's told me, come to practice. You're more than welcome to come to any practice. Well, the practices are like at 11, 12, and we record that time. So I'd love to. It's not like I'm trying to ride the top, but I will play the game. I will go to more practices. But I'm the kind of guy that gets so excited for something that I miss all the details when something actually happens. So, you know, he comes and tells me, no. You're back at step one.
Did you call him back and ask him more questions?
No,
I'm not.
I emailed him today, and he just said, you know, you got a spot in the parking lot, in the media parking lot. I didn't ask. You know, I'm just going to go. He told me, go to Will Call. You'll have a ticket. So good. I'm happy with that.
So we'll discuss next week on the podcast.
Exactly. I'm happy.
It'll be Doc's trials and tribulations of trying to get his press credential.
Well, okay. I was a little bit devastated again and disappointed, but it's kind of cool. Now we've taken the network and gotten free stuff from an organization, so we're working our way up. And for an Arab, that's awesome. I'm going to see the Pistons for free from them. So I'm happy. Well, I was disappointed. I'm happy that we're moving up the rung, but that's the kind of guy I am. I was so excited. I'm like, he doesn't know, like, you know, obviously if he listens, but he doesn't know, like, when you tell me it's just a podcast, it just completely discounts the 2 years of work I put in at Oakland, working with Detroit Mercy. Right. It kind of just feels to me like if you just looked, you'd see I haven't just been it's just a podcast.
I mean,
you know,
we sat there, went and covered the NCAA tournament.
Exactly.
We've done things.
Exactly.
So things have been done.
Exactly.
This is not like a guy who's just like, hey, let me come in and do. No. We've done things.
All I can tell you is, look, you know, Dave Shore, former program director, called us probably the proper name. We're social media influencers.
Right.
We have the ability to do some things. I mean, look, I put up a hype video, pinched it from the NBA in terms of, if you saw on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, Andre Drummond stealing the ball, going for a dunk. That got seen 50,000 times on our Twitter page, and it was played 40,000 times just off of that page. So people are seeing what we're doing. We're not just some basement podcast trying to do something.
Do you realize I go through the same struggle when I go on like my litany of job interviews? So I go on like a job interview a week here, just trying to sit there and just kick down the door, like you say.
Yeah.
And like I try to explain it to them, they just kind of look at me like,
yeah,
wait, you're a podcast, right? And I was like, that's one of my jobs. I've got like 9. I'm like a Jamaican dude. I got like 9 jobs, and I'm like, no, that's one of my jobs, and yes, it's very successful. And they're like, but how? And I'm just like, what do you mean how? Like, we do advertising, we do all kinds of different stuff. Like, we're legit. Like, we've been working on. We took this thing from a basement project to now we have our own studio, and we run like. Dude, we file taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. Exactly. I do the taxes.
And so that's just the frustrating part is, and that's what I told them this when I met with him face to face. I walked right up to him and said, look, judge me on my own merits. And don't judge me based on the thousands and thousands of podcasts that show up once a week or things like that. We do 7 podcasts a week. We're producing content, having bits, having a good time. We got sponsors. We got people that just say, hey, take some money. Thank you for entertaining us every single month. So it's one of those things where I like this. I like the climb. I like the slow nature of it. I like the fact that we're getting told no because
you're a lot more patient than me, man.
Right? Because I'll appreciate it and when the time comes. I will definitely appreciate it. But I didn't like being discounted that way by being called just a podcast. But that's the problem with me is that when I hear any information that's positive, I get so excited like a kid at Christmas that I'm going to the Suns game and I don't even know what the hell's going to happen.
Right.
So
I don't even know where I'm sitting.
I don't know.
They're going to have you on a milk crate at the very end of the Suns bench.
At the very worst, now that I know the UFC's in town, shoot, I can go for a half and check it out and see what the crowd's like and see if the Pistons are playing well. I can just shoot over to the UFC as well and do some things. But that's that. Now, I got a question for you. Okay. And you're probably going to be like, yeah, of course. But are you OCD?
Yes.
Okay, I noticed because I've been kind of sitting back and, as you know, we do a rundown and we kind of discuss what we're talking about. And so I looked at the last 4 rundowns, okay? They all look formatted the exact same.
Yeah.
And I said...
The format doesn't change.
The format doesn't change. No. So I know you're plugging and playing. I know you're trying to get through it as fast as possible because you're doing a plethora of other things. But I'm looking at it and I'm going, dude, what if I just said...
Certain things do stay the same from week to week.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the same freaking rundown, just changing it up a little bit.
Oh, here's the deal, right? So
what if I just threw a wrench in there and said, we're going to talk about Michigan first?
Oh, we can do that.
Okay, we can throw a wrench in the plans?
I don't care. Yeah, we can do that. That's
Okay,
fine.
good.
I was wondering if you wanted to sit there and do that or not. I mean,
You said sit there.
I did say sit there and do that, didn't I? I was wondering if you wanted to do that. Originally,
Yes.
I was thinking maybe
Let's mix it up a
we
little
could
bit.
talk Michigan State first, but... I mean,
No,
look,
we gotta talk
nothing
about-
gets me more riled up than talking about our Lions. Lions
Yes.
sit there and piss. I said it right there again. Lions piss me off so bad. Like, okay, so Thanksgiving's going on. Let me just tell you how much of a loser I am. All right, so Thanksgiving's going on, and I was gonna sit there and share this when we got into Lions, but I'll just do it now. We're eating dinner, and my stepdad, he's a fun guy, he's a good guy, and he goes around the table and starts asking everybody what they're thankful for, and it gets to me, and I sound like such a little annoyed prick. I mean, it's the only way to describe me at this point. And I'm just so agitated. And I've got this plate of food, and it's delicious, and everything's good. And my family's all around, and they're not bothering me, which is cool, because I don't know about you, but sometimes family can be a huge bother. Anyways, everything's going good. And he's like, Adam, what are you thankful for? And I was like, you know what I'm thankful for? I'm thankful that the damn Lions lost. Because now I don't got to sit there and watch this damn team sit there and set themselves on fire and self-destruct. I don't have to watch this crap anymore. Thank God for, and I dropped a couple F-bombs in there, which was not cool at the dinner table. But I was so fired up, man, that the Lions lost. And I was like, thank God this crap's over. He was like, well, you're still going to watch. I was like, shut up. I know I'm going to watch. And it's just, they ruin everything. I end up carrying that anger around until like Sunday. Like, who does that? It was even worse when I was younger. They used to wreck my entire week. They would lose a game on Sunday, and then it would end up just destroying my entire week until the following Sunday when they lost again. And it was a vicious cycle. The 0-16 season, I'm surprised I lived. I'm surprised I made it. I should have ate a bullet. I was so depressed that entire year.
It was great after the game. Someone sent us via our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. At Eastern Market, they're selling koozies that say fucking Lions on it. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that is great.
That's, in essence,
That's
of what the Lions
man.
represent, right? It was
That's
just a
what they
bad
are.
game, a bad start. We can start there. I won't mess around with you.
No, let's start with Michigan. Let's start with another crap team. Let's
Okay.
talk about them.
Yeah, we'll talk about Lions in the next segment.
There's a ton of news going on with the Wolverines. I mean, if you wanted to, I was going to say we could start with Michigan State because, Jesus Christ, the team that actually wins around here. Let's talk about them,
It was nice. A nice way to flip the script. How much credit do you give D'Antonio for going 3-9 last year and then flipping the script and going 9-3 this season? I mean, that was a quality performance versus Rutgers. We'll talk about them in a second because, a win versus Rutgers, you can value it, but it's really tough nowadays to judge that team because really they don't really belong in the Big Ten.
Doesn't matter, though. A win's a win. You take it, you move on. And what Mark D'Antonio has done after going 3-9 in all the turmoil, and we talk about it every week, man, the way he's been able to take this team and basically build them back up from their lowest point. Like, I don't remember Michigan State in a long time being this low. Like, Michigan State fans going into the season were like, it doesn't even matter. Just go win like 4 or 5 games and we'll call it good. I think everybody expected failure this year. And D'Antonio comes in and he's like, look, judge us on what we're going to do, not what you think we might do. And it's what happens. He sits there, he bunkers down, he puts a chip on these guys' shoulder that is as big as this office building that we're sitting here recording out of. And these guys are pissed off all year long, and they're going to make you pay and earn every little bit of it out of nowhere. You win 9 games, and you have the possibility to sit there and win a 10th in what looks to be a very good bowl game.
You look at Michigan State and you recognize, okay, D'Antonio has a system in place that's successful for what Michigan State needs. Now, Jason and I have debated another thing in that it's fine. You won 9 games, but did D'Antonio succumb to the pressures of his own success? Meaning, is 9 wins good enough for Michigan State anymore? And so I look at D'Antonio, obviously, step one. I want to preface this by saying he's the greatest coach that Michigan State has ever had. He took them from basically being irrelevant to being a program that we can talk about. But there's nothing wrong with realistic expectations. And Jason and I have debated whether or not Mark D'Antonio has peaked. Is this what we can expect from him, every 3 or 4 years? Is 9 or 10 win seasons, try to get to the Big Ten title game, try your absolute best every once in a while to get to the national title picture. But I say to myself, well, you've got it to this far. If Michigan State maybe rolled the dice a little bit, had some brass, this year, and we'll talk about it, there were a lot of coaches out there that had some national prominence that you maybe could say, D'Antonio's been here for a long time. We greatly appreciate and the respect at what he did, but we're going to roll the dice to be nationally relevant year in, year out. Can you expect that from Michigan State? No. They're going to appreciate Mark D'Antonio because of the fact that he took them from where they were to where they are now. I'm saying I want to raise that bar just a little bit, and I want to become a team that can consistently maybe get into that Clemson, that rarefied air of Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State. Can they get to that point with D'Antonio? And I don't think so.
While I understand what you're saying and what you want, I think it's a perfect fit. Mark D'Antonio at Michigan State's an incredible fit. He is a very low-key guy.
Is 2 or 3 losses good enough for a college football coach in this day and age?
I think you got to look at what your program is and where your program's going and where you came from. Look at the last 18 months in a vacuum. If you look at the last 18 months in a vacuum, you'd be like, hell yeah, this is awesome. He just won 9 games after the crap that we had last season and everything that was going on last season. You would take it in a heartbeat. I mean, going into this year, I should pull up what you had for the record. Do you remember what you predicted, which is like 6 wins? 6 wins? I mean, he gave you 3 more than you expected, and he'll possibly give you a 4th. If you look at just the 18 months in a vacuum, he's done a great job. He's been incredible. Do I think he can sit there and consistently get into the conversation with the likes of an Ohio State and Alabama, a Clemson at this point? No, I don't. But I think he's got a much tougher road to hoe than most of those teams and most of those schools. Look, Alabama's a brand, okay? At this point, Clemson has become a brand. You know, we talk about Michigan. Michigan's a brand. I mean, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. You got wings on your helmet. Big deal. You haven't done anything or won anything. But technically, they're considered a brand. Florida is considered a brand. Michigan State's got a much tougher road to go because you got the likes of Michigan. You got the likes of Ohio State. Every now and again, and usually Wisconsin's pretty good because they don't play anybody in their division. So you got to make it through those teams. And now Penn State's back on board. And if you look at Penn State, you go back to before everything came out with Jerry Sandusky, Penn State was a brand. You've got Michigan State competing with at least 4 schools in the Big Ten. You know, and look, Alabama, yeah, I know Florida's there, and you got Auburn, who tends to be decent sometimes. You've got other schools in the area. Georgia now has a head coach who seems like he knows what the hell he's doing. So you've got programs in the SEC, but they all tend to fall short of Alabama. You know what I'm saying? And Alabama is a legit brand. What you have with Mark D'Antonio, I think you should be very pleased with. And I understand that you want more. I mean, shit. I want a head coach who can sit there and just win games and get us to a Big Ten championship game. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh will ever do it. I haven't seen it yet. I mean, we're going into year 4, and I don't have a quarterback. So, whatever. You got Brian Lewerke. I'd give everything I got for Brian Lewerke right now. You know what I'm saying? It's what it is, dude. Take what you got, be happy with what you have, and look forward to next year. I think next year is going to be a very, very good year for Michigan State. You got a quarterback who has another year of development. I think that offensive line gets better. Your running back situation's kind of got to get figured out because I don't know if LJ Scott's going to be around next season. You're going to be losing some pieces there, but they tend to, I don't know, Mark D'Antonio does such a great job finding like 2- and 3-star running backs, plugs them in, next thing you know, you got Le'Veon Bell. So whatever's going on there. You got legit wide receivers on this team. You got a defense that usually shows up and plays really good. I mean, your biggest question mark is your offensive coordinator. You know, what kind of game is he going to roll out there this week? That seems to be the biggest question mark. You've got a very good program there. Be happy. Honestly, I would legitimately consider trading Jim Harbaugh for Mark D'Antonio. And I say that because it's almost like 2 in the hand, or 1 in the hand is worth more than 2 in the bush. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Jim Harbaugh... You
know what you have with DeMar.
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh is just potential. A lot of potential. And you know what potential's been getting me? Nothing. I don't get to go to Indiana to watch a Big Ten championship game. I don't get to go to a Rose Bowl. I don't get to sit there and compete in a playoff. I don't get anything. What do I get? I get my hand. It's just like me masturbating. Big deal. I get my hand.
You get to click around and see how many stars the next crew gets.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Cool. I hate. Listen, I hate recruit Nicks. It drives me nuts. You know what this 4- or 5-star kid's going to do this year? Nothing. Hey, how good was Donovan Peoples-Jones? Wasn't he like a 5-star recruit?
Okay, I got a question for you when we talk about Michigan, because Jason kind of highlighted it and sparked off some big debates the last 2 weeks on his Twitter page, because he's kind of been poking and kind of making some observations regarding the Michigan football program. But I understand. I greatly respect Mark D'Antonio, obviously. A lot of respect for where he is. But I'm saying, is there another rung to go up? I mean, it's nice to have... Listen, this year, it's nice to have a 9-10 win season, but...
Is there a coach out there, though, that Michigan State could legitimately go after and bring in to supplant Mark D'Antonio? I mean, sit there and think about it. I don't think Nick Saban's coming back.
One name.
Go ahead.
Chip Kelly. He was out there.
Do you really want Chip Kelly?
Well,
do you really want Chip Kelly?
I'm saying he's a name out there that has some national prominence, and he could do some things in the modern game that we see in 2017 that seems to be successful. I mean, look what he did at Oregon. If you look at it, he took a program similar to what D'Antonio did. He's been getting jobs in the NFL, getting jobs across college football.
Flamed out in the NFL, let's be honest.
He did.
Flamed out in the NFL.
Because he's more suited to be a college coach.
He is.
And I think he's going to do some good things over there at UCLA.
I think so, too, and we'll talk about that later on, but... look,
Mark D'Antonio's safe, and I'm fine if they keep D'Antonio. Listen, you got to remember where I'm from as a Spartan fan, where we got our ass kicked every single year by Michigan, and there was no success. And so the last decade, when we see what has happened in terms of Rose Bowl wins, quality bowl games, playing national powerhouses, it's been fine. But I also can sit here and say, I remember the games versus Alabama where we got our ass kicked. I can remember games during the regular season where Ohio State rolls you, where you go to Northwestern, and maybe this year you could have won. Maybe you could have done some things this year had you had a more nationally prominent coach. But it is a gamble, and is Michigan State willing to take that next step? I'm saying that in order to be nationally relevant, my take is D'Antonio's probably peaked. He'll get you 9 or 10 wins. He's the safe guy. It's fine. I'm happy with it. But if I want to shoot for the stars, and can Michigan State get to the level that people think Michigan can get to, I question it. And I say D'Antonio maybe is loyal to a fault, and he has a system in place that might only cap out at consistent Big Ten success. Is Mark D'Antonio's offensive scheme, his defensive scheme conducive enough in this landscape to play Alabama, to play Clemson, to play the likes of those that are going to be successful this year? I would say if they went up against, the teams that are going to be in the playoff, they'd probably lose 45-15.
Okay, but you also have to realize there's a difference. They recruit differently. Okay?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And that comes down to your coach in looking at what he needs and what he wants, as well as it comes down to your school. I think there's more to be said about the type of player that Alabama can go recruit and the type of player that Michigan State can go recruit than just, you need a better coach. You know what I'm saying? Michigan State generally can go recruit a 3-star kid, maybe get a 4-star kid. It's not very likely that a 5-star kid's coming to Michigan State. All right, and whether that's the college landscape, whether that's because it's Mark D'Antonio, or if there's something else going on. If you look at Alabama's able to go get a 5-star kid, or what they like to do down in the South is they sit there and they take the JUCO transfers. They take a kid who's struggled heavily through school, like dumb. Like when I say dumb, I mean like shake his head, it sounds like a marble's rolling around in there, right? Like dumb. You know how to play football, and that's all you know how to do. You've been pushed through high school, you got to college, you basically flunked out, you had to go to junior college, or you went straight to junior college. One or the other. And basically you are in school to get to the next level to play in the NFL. All right? They go take kids like that, like guys who are supremely gifted, but a plant. You know what I'm saying? Like they have the brain power of a plant. And then they somehow are able to get them through school or get them through a semester to where they're able to be kept eligible so they can sit there and perform on the field. So Michigan State's not doing that. It's not what Michigan State does. And I think as a school and as a university, you should applaud that. You should be proud of that you don't have plants on your football team. Alabama's got them up and down. You got kids who can barely read. It's how it is. And Michigan State's not going to go out and target people like that or get kids like that. That's just not how they do things. And yeah, that kid, he's going to sit there, give Alabama one good season. And then you know what? He's going to go to the pros. And he's going to play 5 to 10 years in the pros, and he's going to be an outstanding talent. He's basically pro level now. He just has to have a short-term plan and stop here for a year. Michigan State's not getting guys like that. You're right. Michigan State could go up against the likes of Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, all those schools, and you're probably right. Lose 55 to 15, and giving you 15 is probably a courtesy. It's just completely different. The skill level that they have and the talent base that they recruit from and who they go after is different. And the kids that say yes to those schools are a different breed of kid than what Michigan State is looking to bring into their university. It's different, man. I don't think you can compare like that. Like, I don't like comparing Michigan to.
You have to, because then if you never nitpick, if you don't criticize, then you might just be willing to accept this for the last 5-6 years.
I'm not saying that you can't be critical of your program. You absolutely should be. I think this season you need to applaud what Michigan State has done.
I could be critical and say that this season could have been more successful.
It could have been.
Had a couple breaks went their way.
You probably couldn't have lost to Northwestern.
Exactly.
That'd have been a huge victory right there. You probably didn't have to get blown out by Ohio State. I get it. I absolutely get it. But look at where you were at going into this year. What were your expectations? You were hoping to maybe finish third, maybe fourth in your division. You finished second in your division, only behind Ohio State, who got blew out and trucked. You didn't expect to beat Michigan this year.
Right.
You know? And you sat there and you won. And you won in a shitstorm of a game. And you look good. And on top of all that, coming out of this year, next year looks much more promising because you actually have a legit quarterback. You've got a great quarterback, and you've got legit wide receivers. You know that defense is going to be good. That defense is always good. Sometimes there's some question marks with the secondary, but that defense is always good. I think you need to sit there and maybe dial it back a little bit. Take the season for what it is. Look at it in a vacuum and be proud and be happy of what you got. I understand that you want to sit there and compete with Alabama, Auburn. You want to go on and you want
to be at the big boy table.
Right. You want to win a national championship, and you should want that.
Reach for the stars, baby. Why not?
But I think Michigan State and what Mark D'Antonio has done, once he finds his quarterback, he's able to build the team around that quarterback, and I think he's got his quarterback. That's Lewerke, and he's going to be a stud going forward.
I think you and I can agree that he's the MVP of the team.
Absolutely.
That's my guy.
Absolutely. Him or Mark D'Antonio, one of the two, man.
Exactly.
Because Mark D'Antonio took a sinking ship, and he sat there and turned that bitch into a yacht, and they floated that thing right into the sunset. So one of those two, man. But I think going forward, you got Lewerke. D'Antonio knows what he has with his quarterback, and I expect him to take a step forward next year. I expect this offense to take a step forward next year. I see big things for Michigan State going forward. And I think maybe next year, if this team performs as well as we think they could, you got to remember, Ohio State is losing J.T. Barrett. Ohio State's going to have a lot of kids going to the pros.
They lost J.T. Barrett versus Michigan. I liked Haskins. I was like, Haskins?
I get it. I get it. But if I was to give you Haskins or Lewerke, who are you taking?
Oh, of course, Lewerke right now.
Exactly. Michigan, we don't know who the quarterback is. We just had like two guys transfer. I mean, there's talks that Spade's gone, right? We know that. And there's talks that Malzone's probably gone after the season. So you just lost two quarterbacks there that have been in the program. You've got Brandon Peters, who had, 4 games and looked okay. And we'll talk about Brandon Peters because I've got some thoughts on him. Yep. And then you got Christian McCaffrey or Milton. You know nothing about any of these guys. So you have no idea. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. And there's no guarantees that they're going to be able to duplicate what they did this year on defense. And if you look at their defense, when they actually went up against somebody, they got steamrolled.
You know what? Next year, legitimately, with Michigan, you could probably play all those guys, and you might even bring in a Shea Patterson, I believe, from a transfer. So Michigan next year, and that's why I loved all the talk about Brandon Peters, and I can't wait to talk about Michigan, and we'll do that soon.
But more to my point, Michigan State, I'm not saying
there's more stability.
Yes, there's not an easy road for you.
I want to rock the waters,
but there is a much easier road for you to be able to get into the playoffs than, say, the likes of maybe an Ohio State or Michigan. And that being said, maybe even Penn State.
I'm willing to go 4 years of being irrelevant if on the other side there's a chance to be in the national title game and win it. So
I totally get that.
I'm willing to rock the boat a little bit, be a little bit shaky, take on some water, and take on some risk. I'm basically
saying, like the biggest Michigan State fan here.
But I'm saying is I want to load up on some chips and kind of push more of them to the middle and say, okay, maybe we can take that next step with the right move. And but still, you can't discount what Mark D'Antonio did. He's even gotten to the point where we're having a debate of whether or not he is legitimately the coach of the year.
Right.
That's awesome.
We're talking about possible coach of the year, and you're talking about firing him. All right, Greedy.
Sports is a nasty business because I'm only asking one question.
Spoiled.
No. I'm asking one question. When you ask this one question, don't pigeonhole me. I'm asking one question. How can Michigan State be nationally relevant? That's the question I'm asking.
And I get it.
And if you ask that one question, the way I'm thinking, it has to be debated.
My whole thing is, I don't know if there's a coach that you can go out there and get. I was going to ask you, would Narduzzi do it for you? Would he be the guy?
Yeah, I mean...
He just sat there and went up against the number 2 school in the country and popped them and guaranteed that they were that Pitt was gonna roll out of there with a win.
Right,
I mean, that's balls.
I mean, he's still developing that program. They've gotten some signature wins, but they're not nationally relevant either.
Right.
So,
but
I
you
don't
can
know.
come to Michigan State, which is a much steadier program.
He might be a guy.
And I think what you're looking at is you're looking at schools, and I think you're looking at brands. And this is, I think, what I was trying to get to earlier. Michigan State's a school. I don't think they're a brand yet. And to become a brand,
how do you become a brand?
well, to become a brand, you have to be relevant for a long time. There was a point there in the 80s and in the 90s where Michigan was very relevant. You know, they're not relevant right now. I would argue with you that they're not even close to being considered a brand. But you slap the Jordan logo on something that's yellow and blue, and next thing, oh, look, we're a brand. We're a brand. No, you're an idiot Michigan fan. Shut up. Sit down. Sit down. Here's your point.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Alabama was dominant for years, and then they went in the dumpster. And then Nick Saban came in, and next thing you know, all they're doing is winning national championships. They're a legit brand. If you look at Clemson, where was Clemson? Clemson was nowhere. But you know what? Dabo Swinney has made them very, very relevant and get this program to that next level where they're competing year in and year out for a national title. Once Michigan State gets there or gets to that point, I think they become a brand then. I think right now they're on the precipice of it. That's a big word for me.
Okay, let's put Michigan in the crosshairs. Now, I understand where you're coming from, and you represent
Got
the
an
side.
AK-47 loaded for him.
I know you do, but I'm saying hold on before you cock that gun off and go off on Michigan, okay? Because you've said this before. You're angry that in 3 years, Jim Harbaugh has not met the potential that everybody thought. No Big Ten title games. You don't see the trajectory in terms of success. You're seeing continued losses to Ohio State, Michigan State. You're seeing transfers. You're seeing situations where a lot of the talk regarding Michigan has been negative and has been talking about the lack of success. So I understand your anger, and I definitely would be angry regarding the Ohio State game because I felt like, yes, Jim Harbaugh put his players in the position to win, but the question and the thought that you got to have is Jim Harbaugh picked these players. He's the one that is bringing these players in and coaching them up or not coaching them up well enough. A simple thing that you could look at is I think Jim Harbaugh could coach better. Maybe he can recruit the same way, but in terms of if you're going to have John O'Korn on the field, I would say come hell or high water, he will not throw that football more than 18 times.
Right.
Literally, before the game, people would say to me, why are you down on John O'Korn, or what's the game plan? My game plan would have been hand the ball off. If we're going to go out 3 and out, I already know that John O'Korn is not going to be able to successfully call a read option. If you just want to erase the memory of that game, okay, yes, you can say that the defense could have done a lot better job. A lot of players could have stepped up as well. But how do you have, when you're down 4 and you have the ball and you're going to do some things, how do you have John O'Korn call a read option? Read what? The dude you were watching that game. Wow, you got these players in the flat. O'Korn's missing them. Wow, you got these players, going in, striding into the end zone, looking like decent receivers. O'Korn missed them. The whole game, O'Korn was missing the targets. Last drive of the game for you to take it all and to show that you can do some things. That's after another quarterback for Ohio State comes in and does damage against you.
Right.
A freshman in the big house is able to just, yes, very embarrassing. You decide that passing the ball with John O'Korn is the best option. I mean, literally, you probably should have set up a camera that last drive because I think you would have destroyed it and made some internet gold with what Michigan fans thought when John O'Korn not only missed his receiver, it wasn't like it was missed, he airmailed it. And it was
like playing 500 and you throwing it with a bad shoulder because it was a
5
lame duck.
yards past the receiver right to Ohio State. So I give a lot of fault to Jim Harbaugh for that game plan and for putting O'Korn in a position not to succeed. He put John O'Korn in a position to fail and cry in front of everybody because of what he did to John O'Korn.
I agree with you 100%. That game's on Jim Harbaugh. You know that you have a quarterback who can't throw the ball.
He can't throw the ball.
He doesn't throw the ball well anyways. Why are you going to have him drop back and throw the ball over 30 times?
I was like, what?
Hey, look, I think they had a good game plan. It was the execution of the game plan that was poor, right? You jump out to a 14-point lead, and then what? Like, you forget how to score? You forget what to do? I don't understand. It makes no sense to me. You basically go into a shell after you jump out to a 14-point lead. Maybe you were surprised that you were leading that game, because I sure as hell was surprised. I don't know. You start doing a couple things right, and the next thing you know, you start to fall apart. And then you put John O'Korn in this spot where, like you said, he's got to throw the ball to win the game. And that wasn't the plan going into it. Like, I understand making halftime adjustments and all, but you know that John O'Korn isn't a very good quarterback, at least not at this level. Why are you going to put the ball in his hand and make him be the hero? That's not him. And look, I get it. If that's the case, then maybe he shouldn't be your backup's backup, or maybe he shouldn't be your backup quarterback. However you want to look at it, he shouldn't be here. That's on Jim Harbaugh too, because Jim Harbaugh went out and recruited this kid, so that's on Jim Harbaugh too. But all that being said, it's what you got, and this is why you're here, and this is how you're playing this game. Don't put him in that spot to do that. Figure out your run game. Let that carry the load for these guys. You know, if you got to put extra tight ends to chip and block and sit there and have a tackle pulling, do that. Do something, anything. You got to run some reverses. You got to run some type of a trickeration. Do it. A Statue of Liberty play. Whatever. Just don't let John O'Corn be the one throwing the ball deep, because obviously he has no touch, you know? And if he does have touch, he only has touch to Ohio's defensive backs, so it makes no sense. Why are you going to toss it?
And here's just another sign of how bad things are at Michigan. The Lions have players both from Ohio State and Michigan, Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker. And it was discussed on Wednesday, of course, you know, when the players talked to the media. Hey, y'all, I mean, why not? Did they have a bet? Hell no, Graham Glasgow didn't want to bet. You know, because he knows. Why would you even consider betting Taylor Decker? Because your ass would have been showing up in a chicken suit or wearing some nonsense in front of the media. And so that's how bad it is that your own players don't want to bet on a professional team where they gamble about anything. Mm-hmm. Graham Glasgow, smart for you, man.
Yeah,
good for you. Don't bet.
Good for you saving your money.
Right? So it's disappointing. A disappointing season, right?
It was, especially because that was a game where there was a certain point where you felt like, hey, we might win this. And then there was a point. They played
so good, right?
Then there was a point where you're like, in the third and fourth quarter, where you're like, hey, we're still in this. We got a shot to win this ball game. And then you see him throw up a lame duck. And you're just like, game over. All right, so that's over. And then you knock out JT Barrett. And then next thing you know, you got a true freshman coming in. And he's running up and down the field on you, jail sexing you.
How much anger do you have for the defense for allowing a freshman to come in and drive on you? How did that happen?
I mean, Jesus Christ, man. What is Don Brown doing? Honestly, hit that kid. Put him out. Did you realize that Ohio State's backup quarterback is better than Michigan's starting quarterback, Michigan's backup quarterback, Michigan's backup's quarterback, right? And then we got Alex Malzone, who was pretty good at Brother Rice a couple of years ago, but he didn't really see the field at all, not unless somebody's dead. That's the only time he gets to go touch a football on the field during games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've got a backup quarterback who is better than all of your quarterbacks. What does that tell you? Whose fault is that? That's one guy's fault. That's the guy who sits there and likes to plan trips to Rome. That's the one guy whose fault who sits there and likes to go have sleepovers with kickers. That's that one guy's fault who likes to climb a tree and play tag. It's that guy. The guy who likes to jump into a pool with all his clothes on. Or likes to sit there and play football in 7-on-7 drills with his shirt off. It's that guy. That guy. Do you realize everything that I've just said? All of it is clickbait. Everything I said. Jim Harbaugh is clickbait. That's all he is. Coaching, I haven't seen him do a whole lot of it since he's been here. And I think that's where most of my anger and most of my pissed off attitude comes from. Because you got a guy a few miles down the road there who's taking a team that was 3-9, had some of his best players and do atrocities and get kicked out of the program and turn that stuff around and turn it into a winning program. You basically multiplied their wins by 3, and now you have a chance to add 1. Whereas you can't even get out of the blocks and look good against subpar teams like a Cincinnati. Like who? What? You got to go play Air Force, and you got to sit there and wait till the fourth quarter to pull away and get a win. I mean, you played nobody this year, and when you did play somebody, they pushed your shit in. Who's that on? You can blame it on the players all you want. I'm putting it on the coaches because they haven't put the players in the right spot to do things. I mean, yeah, that defense looks great when you're sitting there going up against Sisters of the Poor. Hey, good for you. Good for you. And you know what? That run game looks real good, too, when you're sitting there going up against the blind kids from the deaf school down the street. So awesome for that. But when you play somebody like an Ohio State, a Michigan State, you can't find the end zone. And you can't keep them out of the end zone. That's on your coach. That's on your coaches.
What's next? Do you have hope for 2018? In terms of maybe, I know that the schedule looks tough. I mean, you open the season on the road Notre Dame, on the road Ohio State, on the road Michigan State. I mean, you're looking at 2 or 3 losses right there, just off the bat. So it seems like in year 4, a lot of people are saying that the expectation has to be that Jim Harbaugh wins the Big Ten in year 4. Going into it, I don't see it. Going into year 4, I don't see that expectation being realistic with the quality of opponents that you have. 1, 2, they're on the road.
Right.
It's tough. If they're at home, maybe you could entertain that thought. But on the road,
Ohio State and Michigan State on the road, Notre Dame on the road next year. It's going to be a tough schedule next year. This is my one saving grace for this team going into next season. You return a lot of the starters from that defense. You return your young wide receiving core. You also factor in Tariq Black, should be back and be healthy. In the beginning of the season, he was your best wide receiver. Honestly, he was like the smartest guy out there because he was the only one who could figure out how to run the right damn route. Your running backs are poor on this team. They're not very good. You add in another year for this offensive line. I think that helps strengthen it. And at this point, Peters has the edge in the quarterback competition, right? And at times, Peters looked like a very good quarterback. My big concern with Peters is there are times where he gets hit and he looks like he just wants to leave the game. Like he just checks out. And I'm not here trying to call him soft. This is just what I've seen over the last couple games that he played before he got injured with a concussion. There were times where he would get blown up. And yeah, that goes on that offensive line that at times was porous. But he would get hit, and it would just look like he's laying there like, what am I doing? Why am I playing this game? I should be doing something else. It sometimes looked to me like his heart wasn't in it. And that has me very, very concerned going into next season. If he's going to be your starting quarterback, now mind you, he has the edge on Christian McCaffrey because he has at least 4 starts. I don't know what Joe Milton's going to be. I have no idea. He's going to enroll early. Cool. I don't know what that means because you've had other players enroll early, and Wilton Spate beat him out. Peters has a couple starts underneath his belt. He's throwing some actual in-game passes. McCaffrey hasn't. McCaffrey is very slight and very lean. It looks like when he gets popped by a linebacker, they might dislocate his spine from the rest of his body. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out, especially if that offensive line doesn't improve. Quarterback's a huge question mark right now. I am questioning Brandon Peters' heart. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not saying he's soft. I'm just saying there were times during the season where he would get hit, and looking at him, I didn't know if he wanted to be out there. I didn't know if he wanted to sit there and stay in that game. You know, I mean, look, Russell Wilson a couple weeks ago and got hit, got his jaw dislocated, put his jaw back into place and kept playing. Like, that's savage, bro. Like, that's an animal. That's a man's man right there. Like, that's one of those dudes you don't want to meet in a dark alley. And look, Russell Wilson is not a guy who I would ever think to be like that. You know what I'm saying? Russell Wilson looks almost pillow soft, but he's not. He's a gamer. He's a football player for sure. I just don't know if Peters is built like that. If that's your guy who is going to be your quarterback next year, he at least has the inside track on it. Oh boy. Your 4 is going to be tough, Jim. It's going to be real tough. Better figure it out real fast. You know, and I don't know if you bringing in somebody else's project or somebody else's so-called prodigy that didn't pan out, whatever your transfer is going to be. I don't know if you want to do that. I mean, this is your 4. Where's your quarterback? Where's your guy? Do you realize your best season was with Brady Hoke's guys? Brady Hoke's guys, not your guys. Hey, cool for coming in and coaching up guys that you didn't recruit. Where are your guys? How is this your team? Have you at least put your thumbprint on this team yet? Because if you have, I don't see it. I don't know where it's at. Yeah, Rashawn Gary's really good. He's really good. But I can tell you this much, down the stretch, against better teams, I didn't see him. I don't know where he was. He wasn't on the field. Or at least if he wasn't playing well. So, what are you doing? How are you coaching these guys up? Where are they at? Where are your players? Dude, you're 3, you got to start mixing your guys in, and I haven't seen any of them. So I have no idea. Which then brings me to Wilton Spate. Now, initially when I heard he was leaving and the news all broke, I thought this was because of Jim Harbaugh. And in the end, I think it is because of Jim Harbaugh. But I thought Jim Harbaugh went to him and was like, look, next year we're going to go probably with Peters. You should leave. I don't have room for you because Michigan is doing what Ohio State does. Michigan is doing what Alabama does. They're oversigning guys, and they're bringing in a ton more guys than they can actually keep on their roster and facilitate scholarships to. So Spate was probably going to lose his scholarship. Spate was going to be thrust back into a quarterback competition, and then it was up in the air for that guy at that time. Now, Brad Galley went out and was able to get a interview with Wilton Spate, and Wilton Spate basically came out and said, look, Jim promised me that I was going to be a really good quarterback. Said I was going to be the guy. I was going to be that dude, not just here, but across all of college football. And if we go back and we look at his couple games that he played before he sat there and had his back broken, he wasn't a very good quarterback at all. I put a lot of that on that offensive line. I put a lot of that on those wide receivers. But if you go back even last year, You look at Wilton Spate's last 6 or 7 games, he played like garbage. He didn't play very well. I don't know if Wilton Spate was going to be a very good quarterback, and I don't know how Jim Harbaugh could have promised him that or why he would even attempt to promise him that. Jim basically told him, like, look, we're going to have a quarterback competition next year, and you're going to have to beat everybody out again. So that's now 3 years where Wilton Spate has to go in and win his job back to back to back against the guy that all Michigan fans wanted to win. Everybody wanted Brandon Peters. You know, I mean, he was the guy who at the spring game looked like he knew what he was doing, and everybody anticipated him being the guy, you know? And then Jim was like, no, he doesn't talk loud enough, he doesn't communicate loud enough, he doesn't grab the huddle, he doesn't have the attention of the guys enough. And then, I don't know about you, man, but when I watched him come out and play, it looked like those guys played up for him. You know, I mean, I know the competition was slightly subpar, but those guys look like they played for him. They didn't look like they played for Wilton Spate. So I have no idea what is going on inside Schembechler Hall. I don't know what Jim's doing. I don't know what Jim's seeing. And you know what? Look, maybe Brandon Peters isn't a practice guy. Some guys are just better gamers than they are practice players. I absolutely hate practice. I remember when I was in school, I hated going to practice. I thought practice sucked. It didn't make any sense. Well, why am I going to go out here and kill myself and kill my teammate just so I can sit there and try to start? I'm going to be so banged up during the week that when I get out there on the field to play, I'm going to be a step slow because I've got a nagging injury. It made no sense to me. I sat there and I fractured 3 ribs in a practice once. You know how stupid that was? I was done for the rest of the year. I couldn't breathe. It made no sense. Like, I never got why you'd go sit there and kill yourself during practice. I get it. Go kill yourself during the game. I kill myself all day long. You know how many times I've been dropped on my head and sit there, got a concussion, pop back up, and continue to play? At least 5 times that I can remember. You know what I'm saying? It never made sense to me. So maybe Peters is a gamer. Maybe he's not a very good practice player. I have no idea. I'm not there watching the practice. Jim Harbaugh is. He's the one who's paid $9 million to make these damn decisions. It's his team. And I still don't know what his team is. I don't know what kind of team it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I don't know if it's going to be a team that can sling the ball all over the field. I don't know if it's going to be a play-action pass team. I've got no idea. And we're going into year 4, and that really pisses me off. And that makes me very, very upset.
I'm very sorry. Tough times ahead, but I think everyone is now taking a critical look at the state of the Michigan program, as they should. And they definitely have to seriously look at some of the practices they got, some of the talent that they got. And I think one of the biggest things is Michigan has to have that quarterback. You get that quarterback, I think you get back on that track.
Makes your
pretty
entire
quickly.
team better.
Exactly. Let's take our first time out. We'll come back and we'll talk about the Detroit Lions right after this. Doc and Jock here for our host site, Podomatic.com. When Adam and I first started this project, we were looking for a great place to host all of our recorded audio. And thank goodness we found Podomatic.com. We've recorded up to this point 700 to 800 weekly podcasts, and we've only placed it in one spot, Podomatic.com. Once we upload it, it goes to all the places where you can find podcasts, iTunes, Podomatic, our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Makes it super easy to run a network, makes it super fun to record audio, debate back and forth regarding Detroit teams and college teams. If you're looking to start a brand new project and you want to grow a network, we recommend one host site, Podomatic.com. All right, cuz, you shared a little bit your angst and anger and frustration watching the Lions game, man. I don't think a single play represented all the angst and frustration of the fans other than Darius Slay blocking the field goal attempt by Minnesota. Everybody in the house where I was at was screaming. They were wondering. I posted it on our Twitter page because people thought, yes, they finally made the play to tie the game, only to have it be called. And it was called quickly, but it kind of just symbolized where the Lions are at. A good play brought back by a penalty, and it just goes to show you we all have hope, but in the end, when you recognize what the Lions actually bring you and what they bring to the table, quite disappointing. I wasn't as mad because part of you kind of understands that this is what the Lions bring to the table. You know this is what they do, but the biggest frustration, the biggest point of angst for me was you got outplayed by Case Keenum, a guy not making $27 million a year. And I know people say, well, Stafford deserves it. I didn't believe that. I think that Stafford is a quarterback that you should have on your team, but if you're looking at it, you can see across from you what Minnesota brought to the table with a line, a running back, a couple, role players like an Adam Thielen, a tight end and a Rudolph, and their quarterback's not making $27 million.
Yeah, this team is what they thought we were. They sit there and they get wins against bad teams, and then they get rocked against teams that are going to have a legit shot at being in the playoffs. This game was important for one reason and one reason alone. Actually, two reasons. One, because they're in your division, they're ahead of you, you're chasing them. And two, they're a good team. They're a really, really good team. The Vikings are outstanding right now, even with Case Keenum under center. And they're on their second and third running back. I mean, Case Keenum made Adam Thielen. Do you realize that?
Right.
Case Keenum made a guy. And if I told you Adam Thielen before the season, you'd probably be like, who? I'd be like, the white wide receiver for Minnesota. You'd be like, oh, yeah, that guy. He looked like he had an okay year last year. That guy's already over 1,000 yards for the season. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And your defense got torched. Again. By a running game that consisted of Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon. Are you serious? Are you absolutely serious? On top of that, your head coach looks like a complete boob again. A complete idiot. A total boner. Because you sit there, you score a touchdown, and everybody else sees that it's not a touchdown. All you got to do is get your field goal unit out there quickly and snap the ball and let your kicker, who is an elite kicker, by the way, probably one of the MVPs of this team, do his job. It's a freaking chip shot for him. He doesn't have to try hard. And you score a touchdown that wasn't a touchdown. Everything gets absolved. It's all good. And you're right back in that ball game. Instead, your coach is too busy picking his nose and digging in his ass on the sideline to sit there and do his damn job. What are you doing? Like, we're watching this, and there are guys up in a booth who their job is to sit there and watch that immediately on replay and rate it on. Hey, you know what? Hurry up, get the field goal unit out there. Get the field goal unit, get it kicked. The moment the ball is snapped, you can't go back and look at it. It's over with. Absolutely over with. Get your unit out there and get that snapped. Kick the ball. I don't even care if you missed the damn field goal. Just get the ball snapped, because I'll take 6 points over 3 points any day of the week.
A lot of coaching errors, man. A lot of coaching blunders. You look at it and you say, okay, right from the beginning of the game, you know your offense. You know that you struggle with starting slow. You know probably we could identify the strength of the team being the defense. Yeah, you get the ball and you take it. You don't
makes
defer.
No sense.
Why?
None.
Why make those calls? So that's
Because you're an idiot.
That's the part that is really frustrating, is every time, I guess we can even start and be basic and say, we just want to watch Lions games and not scratch our heads and go, why? That's all I want.
That's it.
And every single game this year, we've kind of scratched our heads about something, going, why did they do that? Why did they run the ball this way? Why did they call that play in that situation? Why didn't Caldwell challenge when it kind of looked like Diggs, I think, was a little bit short? Why did you do that? Why were there certain situations where, it seems like the protocol is to have 11 men on the field and you have 10? So why is that happening?
How does that happen consistently?
I thought of you. I just thought of you. I'm like,
how the hell does that happen?
10 men on the field.
Like, I get it, right? Apparently, you're not a math ace because you're going to take 3 points over 6 points, obviously. But how can you not master getting 11 guys on the field? Like, when you put your units together, like, I don't know, nickel unit go out there, or dime unit go out there, or whatever. We're going to run a ZYX fly. Like, those players know what they're doing, right? How, when you put your lineups together and your packages together, how do you not roll these guys out there and there not be 11 dudes? Like, who? What? I'm flabbergasted. And like, look, I get it. There's a lot that goes into being a head coach, especially in the NFL. But you got a ton of people all around you doing jobs that are supposed to assist you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you got a defensive coordinator, and then do you realize your defensive coordinator has a defensive line guy? There's a secondaries coach. There's a linebacking coach, and then all those guys have some coaches too. I mean, it's like 15 coaches for only one half of the ball. Like, we haven't even touched special teams. We haven't even touched your kicking units. We haven't even touched your offense yet, and yet you still struggle to get the proper amount of players on the field. And if you're a player, what kind of bonehead are you that you don't realize that there's only 10 of you on the field? You should know that there has to be at least 11 of you. Like, quick count. I don't care who. Like, if you're on defense and you are a safety, do a quick count. And if you realize you need another guy, yell to the sideline quickly. If you're a kicker, count how many guys are on the field. And then if you only have 10 guys, yell to the sideline quickly. If you're a quarterback, if you're Matt Stafford, if you are the $27 million man, it's your job to know how many guys are on the field at all times. I know it's a lot of pressure on you, and sometimes counting might not be your strong suit because you only have 10 fingers, and you probably don't know what to do after that, so you're going to try to take your shoe off to use that extra digit as your toe. I get it, right? I totally get it. But still, 11 guys. 11 guys. That's all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out.
Exactly.
The hell?
Exactly.
Hate this team.
But they're playing Baltimore, who played on Monday night. Their offense is not.
Their offense is shit too.
All right. So what are you thinking about this? What are you thinking about Sunday?
Oh man, I don't even want to watch this game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I really don't. But I'm gonna have to because I got to come here and talk about it with you. And I got to sound like I know what I'm talking about to add credibility to the project that we've been investing 4+ years in. Jesus Christ, man.
A lot of people that I message aren't confident in the opportunity to go out there to Baltimore and get the victory. People are really kind of okay with Stafford. They feel like, okay, he had 10 days to rest. His ankle should be okay. But the slow starts, the porous running game, the fact that the defense, John Harbaugh has the easiest game plan. It's going to be run right, run left, run center, run right, run left, run center. And that's if he passes the ball more than 15 times, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
They need to run the ball down the Lions' throat until they show you that they can stop it. Right? Isn't that
that's it? Do you realize you've got the 25th ranked rush defense in the league?
Mm-hmm.
You're awful. You give up 116 yards every game you play. That's brutal. You're atrocious. Then you go out there and you signed an aged veteran, Dwight Freeney. And look, I understand why you signed him, and I think you might get some production from the guy because he has been pretty decent this year in his very limited playing. But that guy couldn't find the field. You couldn't sit there and you couldn't clear a guy to let that guy find the field so he can sit there and put some pressure on Case Keenum, who cut you up like he was a hot knife and you were butter. The things this team does perplexes me and blows my mind. No, I don't feel confident that they're going to be able to sit there and go to Baltimore and come away with a win. Baltimore's got a pretty decent defense. Yeah, their offense is a flaming pile of manure, but their defense is pretty rugged. So I'm expecting their defense to carry that team. Matt Stafford's got to figure it out. You can't sit there and let teams jump out to double-digit leads on you every single game and expect to be able to come back. It doesn't happen. This is a National Football League. Parity is the reason that this league exists, and that's the reason that we all play fantasy football and we all watch. You don't miss a Sunday. I don't care what you're doing. You could be at your grandmother's funeral. Guess what you're doing? They got these things called cell phones now, and you can get all kinds of apps, and you can watch shit on your cell phone. For Jesus Christ, Verizon has a deal with the NFL where you can stream games. It's built this way now where you don't miss it because the NFL is everywhere. Every freaking where. So you watch it. The reason you watch it is because there's always a chance that your team might win on Sunday. It's called parity, people. It's what it is. So now you got 2 6-5 teams, and really and truly, this feels like who wants it least. That's what it's going to come down to. No, you take it, Baltimore. No, Lions, you take it. Matt Stafford needs to show up and start this game on time. His offensive line needs to. He needs to. His wide receivers need to catch the damn ball. And let's talk about that. Marvin Jones with an incredible catch, streaking down the field, win double coverage while Minnesota's got 12 guys on the field. Comes up with a David Tyree type catch, bubblegum on the helmet almost. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's why Matt Stafford's numbers looked decent. Because he was missing throws everywhere. When you got Troy Aikman and you got Joe Buck sitting there being like, Matt Stafford don't look real good today. No shit, Sherlock. No shit. And then you continue to try to run the ball with Amir Abdullah. Watching this at my dad's house, I wish I could have videotaped the conversation. Why is Abdullah out there? Why are they running the same play with Abdullah? You give the ball to Zach Zenner. Zach Zenner picks up 6 damn yards. And you know what? I called it before. They had Zach Zenner out there, and I'm like, it's going to be a pass play. Wait. Sure enough, it was a pass play. Zach Zenner doesn't get to touch the ball ever. He doesn't. I don't get it. Is it because he's white? Is that why? Because honestly, he's one of your best damn running backs you got because Amir Abdullah sucks. He's awful. Guy's got baby hands, can't hold on to the damn football. But Zach Zenner goes out there trucking dudes, carrying 3 guys on his back, gets you 6 yards. And you can't let that guy play? He's got to be in there only to block? That guy's biggest plays this season has been recovering fumbles from Matt Stafford. He's keeping Matt Stafford's sheet kind of clean. Because every time Stafford fumbles the damn ball, Zenner's out there to pick up the shit for him. It makes no sense. I don't understand what this coaching staff has against the white running back. Play the guy. Play the damn guy. He's the best running back you probably have. Give Theo Riddick more touches. Theo Riddick should get the ball a lot more than he does. I don't know why Amir Abdullah's on this team. Is it because he's quick and shifty? Is it?
Another fumble. We called it, too.
He can't hold the damn ball.
We called it. A fumble.
Look, if you're not able to hold on to the ball, you shouldn't be on the field. He cost 7 points for this team. Fumbled the ball immediately. Next thing you know, they're down 14-0. What are you going to do? You got to throw the ball. You have to. You sit there and you make your team so one-dimensional at that point. And it's early in a game. And then this team fights and claws its way back in, and only to have the coaching staff undo itself. I hate this team.
Tough,
I hate this team so much, man. I do. That's why I sat there and I tweeted you on Thanksgiving, like, Lions fans deserve better. Like, we really do. What have we done? Are you trying to pencil me into your schedule? I see you looking through your schedule. Like, I need a therapy session. I do. I really do. Like, Lions fans deserve
Seriously,
better, man.
I'm thinking about booking a client that time. You know what? Just book a client. No, you know what I'm doing this Sunday? You want to do it? Do you have anything to do Sunday morning? It's going down for real. I might not be what it lives up to. 8 a.m. in the morning, they have an observatory. We can go watch the Silverdome get destroyed.
Get demolished.
You got to be in the parking lot of the Silverdome or wherever they're going to direct you. They have an address on the Free Press if you want to go. 8 a.m. Sunday morning. If you're in the parking lot where the fans are obligated to go, you can watch the top of the Silverdome get exploded. I might go out there.
I think I'm going to pass because I work till 3 a.m. on Saturday.
I'm trying everything I can to exercise the curse of the Lions. I don't know what's going on with the George Lopez show. I probably will never see the light of day because I was involved with it. But I might just go check it out. Maybe check the Periscope later on in the day because I might go check it out. It's probably like maybe 20-minute drive from the house. You can go see the Silverdome and in all its glory get destroyed. And maybe, just maybe, with that happening, I'm going to call it. Lions are going to get the blowout. They're going to win in Baltimore. They're going to play for Jim Caldwell. They're going to go out there. They're going to win.
Let's play for Jimmy C.
27-14.
I wonder when he digs in his behind if he finds anything good. I mean, just, I don't know, maybe a play or the correct utilization of a timeout. Something. I don't care. Something, please. All right, what are you going with? 24-14?
27-14, Lions win.
14.
They right the ship, get to 7 wins.
Man.
I do still see a future, but I think what we said earlier in the year, if they even make the playoffs, it'll be one and done. It's just a bad all around. We'll be talking about the decisions that Bob Quinn made in about 6 weeks.
Do you realize it's really two things that has hampered this team? It is the run game, so not addressing a running back in the draft, right? I mean, there were like, I don't know, 15 of them that would have been productive on this team. And losing Haloti Ngata. I never in a million years thought that losing one guy would completely ravage a defense and make it completely useless. That defensive line, that unit as a whole, is awful without him. Absolutely atrocious. Ziggy Ansah, it's a contract year. I don't know what he's expecting, but he's not playing up to anything. He's not playing up to his contract right now. So I don't understand if he's looking to be brought back or what he's going to be asking for. But look, man, they're going out there to get the corpse of Dwight Freeney to sit there and pair with you. And that's because you can't get on the field and you can't do your job. Jesus Christ. I'm going to say it's a close game. It's basically two one-legged alley cats sitting there fighting on a frozen
tough watch,
pond.
Brad, tough watch.
Yeah, it's going to be bad, man. I think Baltimore ends up winning it something crazy. Like
Baltimore.
26-24. And like Baltimore ends up having, if you got Justin Tucker, play him a lot because they're just going to be scoring field goals on you left and right.
All right, final timeout. We'll come back with a round of Jock Jams. Lots to discuss. You're listening to Doc and Jock on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Thanks, everybody, for your continued support. Each and every week, we get a chance to check the downloads, the subscribers. Everything is trending upward, and we greatly appreciate your fine support. The free and easy way to support the network, go check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. You can see which show airs when. You can take care of all your online shopping needs by clicking through the banner links. And definitely support those who support us by clicking through the supporter and the sponsor banners. We greatly appreciate the fine support. We've been able to record daily podcasts since 2013. And it's been a wild ride thanks to your continued support. We greatly appreciate it. Big things happen in 2017. And bigger things are going to happen in 2018. Keep up your continued support. Adam and I, we don't take it lightly. We greatly appreciate it. Keep checking us out, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Yes, sir, cuz outside of Detroit sports, oh my goodness, so many unbelievable things going on, so many things to chomp about. I mean, we're not even going to talk about Aqib Talib and Crabtree ripping chains off of each other.
Absolutely nuts.
I thought they should have been suspended for more than 2 games.
Yeah.
They got reduced to 1. We're not even talking about that. That's how much news was made this week.
Did you hear that Crabtree totally expected it? So he taped his chain to his body, and still Talib was such a dick, dude.
They were swinging. And I love the fact that they show him on the sideline kind of just being proud of himself. It's like, yeah, I yanked it. Like he wanted to. It was such a bad look, but it was entertaining at least
it was.
To see that, right?
Jeez.
All right, this is Jock Jams. I got a lot to ask the Jock, and he's ready to deliver. So, cuz, when the end of the college football season happens, you start to get a little bit antsy if you're a head football coach, because that's when ADs, fan bases, they start getting antsy, and then you see the coaching carousel. A lot of moves were made. A lot of coaches were fired. Some coaches were hired. Your thoughts regarding some of the bigger ones? UCLA brings in Chip Kelly. Dan Mullins is the new head coach at Florida. The whole ordeal with the hiring, then not hiring of Greg Schiano, Kevin Sumlin getting fired, Nebraska letting go of their coach and potentially trying to bring back a prodigal son. Very fascinating stuff going on in the world of college football. Your thoughts?
Yeah, let's start with UCLA. So they're going to go out, they're going to bring in Chip Kelly. I think this is a great move for UCLA. All right, it's obvious he's comfortable in the Pac-12. On top of it, he's got a good quarterback in Josh Rosen, like a very good quarterback. He has very good wide receivers that I think can help out Josh Rosen and complete that offense that he likes to run. The big issue is the running backs. That's his bread and butter. That's going to have to get better. Somehow, I think he can sit there and make that better. Something similar to what we were talking about earlier, too. He now gets to promote a brand, not just a school. I mean, you seen what he did when he went to Oregon, right? It was just a school. It was a weird school. They have a duck for a mascot. They're way up in the Northwest. It's what it is, right? And he turned that into a brand. He turned that into a product. Turned that into something that you wanted to go out and you wanted to buy and wear because it looked cool. He can do that now with UCLA. On top of it, they play in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that's a really cool stadium for us here in the Midwest, because if you're a Michigan or a Michigan State fan or Ohio State fan, that was always the goal, was to win the Big Ten and then go play in the Rose Bowl. He sits there and he has his home games there. I think it's a very interesting hire, and I think it's going to really work out for Chip Kelly, and I think it's going to work out for UCLA. Now, Dan Mullins, he's the new head coach of Florida. You got to remember, there's some ties there. I think this was a very good hire. I think it was a very safe hire, too. Almost like Michigan State going out and hiring Mark D'Antonio. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a flashy guy. It wasn't a guy who was, in your face and wasn't a ton of clickbait like Jim Harbaugh. But he was the right guy who comes in and does the right things, and he does it very low key. He was the offensive coordinator and he's the quarterback coach there when they were winning championships. Underneath his tutelage as the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, they won 2. Again, he's not a monster name, but I think he's a very good coach. You got to remember, finished with 8+ wins 5 times at Mississippi State. Mississippi State. You got to remember, they're in the SEC. It's just a school in the SEC, but he still was able to finish with 8 wins in the SEC 5 different times. I think it's awesome. Tennessee's a total mess, dude. Tennessee is a complete mess. You sit there, you go out there, and the reports start to leak. I think it was on, Saturday, talking about bringing in Greg Schiano. And he's in, and then he's out, and then he's in, and then he's out. And then, the fan base is having a backlash because he might have been on that Jerry Sandusky tip. And it's an absolutely insane situation. I think the only way Tennessee fans are happy is if they go out and get John Gruden. John Gruden has been bantied about, has been talked about, has been discussed now for months. Months, leading up to was it Butch Davis getting fired? Even before then, they were talking about John Gruden. I think John Gruden is the only one that's going to satisfy those crazy fans. Texas A&M, look, Kevin Sumlin, he's gone. He runs a weird offense, right? It's super dependent on a good quarterback. In college football, you can win one of 3 ways And usually you need some help with one of the other three ways if you do it on defense. You can have an incredibly good defense, one that is super strong, right? But you're going to lean a little bit on either a good quarterback or a good running back. If you got an outstanding running back, usually you can get there. If you have a really good quarterback, hands down, you can almost always get there, okay? Usually you need two of the three, but sometimes you can make it work with either the good quarterback or the good running back. He ran an offense that relied heavily on a good mobile quarterback. You've seen what he was able to do with Johnny Manziel. That offense was able to click and fire on all cylinders. Johnny Manziel goes away. He's not able to recapture that same glory that he had. So he won a lot of games, just not a ton in the SEC, and fans started to get really upset, and I don't know what Texas A&M fans expected. You got to remember, they're not Florida, they're not Georgia, they're not LSU. It's Texas A&M. On top of it, it's not even Texas, right? You're the other school in Texas. And you got to remember, too, in Texas, you got Houston, you got TCU. I mean, these are all programs that I think are a little bit above you and where you're at. So keep your expectations in check, Texas A&M fans. I get it, you want to win, but I don't know what you want. And speaking of schools that are similar to Texas A&M, Nebraska, Arkansas, I don't know where you're going to go there. I have no clue what you do there. Nebraska is an awful product right now. That whole football situation is in shambles. Again, very similar to what Texas A&M is in the Big Ten. You're not relevant. You were kind of relevant when you were part of the Big 12, but you're not relevant here in the Big Ten, and you haven't been good for some time. And then Arkansas, again, you're not Auburn, you're not Georgia, you're not Alabama, you're not Florida. You're like the other redneck school in the SEC. You went and you got Brett Bielema, and whatever, it didn't work out. If I was Brett Bielema, I don't know if I'd ever left Wisconsin. You realize how easy Wisconsin's schedule is right now?
Oh,
just
nice, huh?
Rolling, dude, just rolling. So college football, it is messy right now, and it is.
And we're not even talking about bowl season yet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or who's going to be in the top four? Crazy, right?
Yeah,
that'll be upcoming. We'll definitely talk about that next week or so.
And it's just messy. It's really messy in the SEC right now. The SEC is a disaster with coaches.
All right, about 2 weeks ago, we wanted to peek into the Red Wings, but we decided to table it and take a realistic look after a couple games. What an interesting stretch. I mean, right in that mix, you had the head coach of the Red Wings, Jeff Blashill, who I think is becoming in the crosshairs based on the Red Wings play and some of the struggles that they continue to have. And the way that he's addressed his star player, Anthony Mantha, has been looked at. You've seen a stretch now where, at the time of this recording, they've lost 5 games, 0-3-2, a really tough stretch. And to me, it's really quite disappointing because this losing streak has happened with some games at the LCA. So it's been really disappointing for me. What's your assessment of Detroit's hockey club?
After watching them, I wanted to get through to at least the Edmonton game before I really cemented my thoughts on this team. And I got a little bit longer than that. I got all the way up to that LA game the other night. And look, my thought on this team has been solidified. I think this is going to be a team that's going to give you a little bit, but they're just going to fall short. It's one of those teams where everything has to go absolutely right for them in order for them to win. If you look at some of their stats, when their power play is clicking and they're hitting on their power play over 50%, they're going to probably win the game. And same thing with their penalty kill. If their penalty kill is killing off over 80% of the penalties, they're going to probably win those games. It's what happens when you're not executing on the power play. When your power play's having, or when your penalty kill's having a bad day, what's happening then? Are you going to be able to score and be able to put the puck in the net? And they're just not. They run this nice, fun, running gun type offense. Every now and then they'll set it up in the zone and they'll get some good shots, but they're just not a talented enough team right now, and that's the issue. Watching that LA Kings game, I mean, Jimmy Howard got hung out to dry a couple times, and there were a few times where I felt he should have made a save, and he just looked soft. And I don't know. They're a team that is going to frustrate you if you're a Red Wings fan. It's going to be one of those things where I think they're going to be in the mix for a very, very long time as the season stretches towards the playoffs, and then they're going to tumble and fall out of it, and just how it's going to be.
in the last couple weeks and looking at the Detroit Pistons, more and more people are getting on the bandwagon. Before you made the rundown, you had said, let's just talk about the big win versus OKC. And I sent back the reply and I said, no, we're going to talk about the big win versus OKC and Boston.
Yeah, you called it.
I had a feeling psychologically that they were going to play a solid game and it was going to be a test for them. So they brought their A game. Now, the problem with the Pistons is they can't bring their A game 82 games a year for me, so I'm not as super excited as a lot of the fans are because that's one of the only games they've probably watched this year and seen them ball out like that. So when you watch them every single game, you recognize, okay, they can't perform to that level every game, but they can come damn near close. Andre balled out. The team played well. I went with the age-old psychological adage that, hey, this team wanted to cement themselves as a unit by performing well for a guy that was traded by them. They wanted to play well for Avery Bradley, who was traded by the Celtics. I felt like they were going to bring their best game and probably win the contest. So that was really impressive to me that they actually went out and handled their business. But for you, are you buying into the Pistons after the big win, or do you got to wait and see? Because just like the Wings, give them another 5-game stretch and it could be a tough one too.
No, at this point in the season, I'm buying in, right?
You're in.
You got big wins against the Celtics. You got big wins against the Pacers, big wins against the Heat. You got big wins against Golden State. You got big wins against the Timberwolves. I mean, these are credible wins. And the way you beat and you handled OKC and you handled Boston the other night, it was impressive.
Jock is bought in. Pay attention.
Really, really impressive.
Nice.
I mean, look, I don't think you're going to be able to do that 82 games a year. And I do expect at some point during this season, they're going to go on one of those stretches where they end up losing 5 games in a row. I don't think they're talented enough yet and be able to overcome something like that right away. But I do like what I'm seeing from this team. I think Tobias Harris is hands down your best player right now. He's incredible. He's fun to watch.
But to take the next step, don't you think Andre's got to be the best player?
I do. I agree.
Can we get him there? What can we do to get him there?
But here's the thing.
How are we going to be 25 and 20 every night?
You got to be realistic with him, right? It's baby steps. I mean, he played a great game against Boston. The guy's 6 for 8 from the line.
He balled out.
Incredible. And he's doing a good job not just playing offense and not just playing defense, but playing a complete game. Like, the guy had a couple steals, 4 I think. He had 22 rebounds. And he put over 25 points in. You know what I'm saying? He played awesome. Played incredible. Now, you're not going to get that every single game, but if he can give you that, I don't know, 7, 8 nights out of 10, you're going to take it all day, every day, right? Tobias Harris played great. And I think the addition of Avery Bradley, he was the piece that was missing. He was that guy. He seems like a glue guy. He seems like a leader. It seems like this team is able to rally around him, and it seems like he is able to get this team to go in the direction that Stan Van Gundy wants them to go.
Next week, I think, is another marquee matchup. I believe you play the Golden State Warriors at the LCA next Friday. So maybe we'll have a chance to preview that on the next podcast. All right, I got 2 or 3 quick hitters, yes or no type questions.
Okay.
All right, number 1, do you think Eli did wrong with the Giants? His streak is ending for Geno Smith.
Yes, I do. But he's the one who wanted to be benched. They were going to try to keep the streak going. He was like, no. Like, if you want to see what he can do, play him. So I think he handled it like a very mature adult, and he handled it much better than that coaching staff did. That coaching staff's atrocious over there.
You impressed at all? Tiger Woods might be coming back?
I'm interested.
6th or 7th comeback?
I'm not impressed. I'm interested. Can he hold up? Can he play an entire weekend? What's he going to look like? Can he do something out there? There's a lot of questions.
Detroit Tigers question here. Do you think in 2018 Jordan Zimmerman will be on the roster?
You know, there's already some speculation going on that the Washington Nationals are interested in Zimmerman. They want to sit there and make him a back end of their rotation type pitcher. His contract is retarded, right? I think if the Tigers are going to move him, they're going to have to pick up a large chunk of that, and I'm not sure if they're going to want to do that. As far as their pitching goes right now, I'm not really sure what they have. I do think it could be a trade that could work out for both teams, for both parties. I mean, the Nationals would sit there, they'd get their back-end guy. He obviously comfortable there. It's where he started his career, right? I think if you're Detroit, you can sit there and go out and maybe ask for a prospect like Eric Fetty, or maybe you can sit there and get a guy like a Will Crow. Now, these are some of their lower-end prospects. These are pitching prospects here. You can go out there and you can get somebody who you can, I don't know, maybe develop. Maybe there's something there. You got to remember, Washington does not have a very good set of prospects at this point. Victor Robles, that was the guy who was bantied about earlier when the trade deadline was going on for the Tigers, and that was a guy that everybody got excited for. He's their best prospect, like legit. He's their best prospect. And then after that, it's some guys. So the guys I named are just kind of some guys. But again, you need prospects. You need to fill out your minor league system. You go get one or two of these guys. Maybe they pan out. Maybe you get something. And on top of that, you get out from underneath some of that contract.
Fair or foul? Final question.
Sure.
Should Jeff Blashill have called out Anthony Mantha when there's other players who are really struggling to get points? He goes out and he says, look, Anthony Mantha can't float out there playing in this NHL.
I want to say foul, but you have to remember, too, Anthony Mantha has been called out about this now for, 2.5 seasons or so?
The concern is modern athlete 2017. You keep riding his ass, he's going to go somewhere else.
I get it, but the Wings are very structured in how they play, right? And I think this needs to be something more that's handled in-house. Maybe you have Zetterberg sit down and talk with him. He might be able to relate to him better. It's your captain of your team. Look, man, we need you to step up. You got to start playing both ways. A little bit too much floating, a little too much lackadaisical play out there. You're killing us. You can't do that. Sometimes it takes another person. How often, you're your own boss now, but how often does it happen where you got a boss chirping in your ear all the time? Chirp, 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 chirp.
No, once in a while, but sports is a little bit different in that
I get it.
Ego is involved, but I feel like
I get it, but
I think Mantha deserves it, but I'm also aware that I don't want him to be one of those sensitive players that says, I'm taking my talents elsewhere and drops 30 goals for another squad.
I understand.
But to get the best out of him, he needs to be righted because he knows that Blashill told him, for us to be great, you got to be great. Mm-hmm. But maybe it could have been done behind closed doors.
I think it's something that should be handled in-house. But
in-house.
Here's the thing.
Because remember, he blasted on television in front of the media.
Right. I'm sure this has been done in-house. I'm sure he's been told. This is another way to try to get through to him, I think. Look, the media is a two-way street for coaches, right? The media goes there, asks questions, coach answers, right? And when the coach needs to get through to a player, who do they go through? They go through the media. So it's a two-way street, I think. I think they use it both ways here.
Great podcast, sir. Always enjoy it. We turn on the mics with the hopes of talking for 60. We talk for 90. What are you going to do?
Oh, man.
Great stuff.
And I sit there and have a breakdown in between a break.
All right.
You should have recorded all that.
Good stuff. Stay with us.
So sad.
You got to listen to the end because sometimes we'll put some of the bloopers, man. Good stuff. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I'm the Doc, John McAroon. We hope you enjoyed it.
So sad, dude. So sad.
So sad.
This team makes me so upset.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.